The early 2010s saw the rise of many stars in hip-hop. It seemed like young rappers were bound to take over the scene sooner or later. And out of that fresh rapping scene came a young rapper by the name of A$AP Rocky. When talking about 2010s hip-hop, people usually talk about the usual names. The Drakes, the Kendricks, the Coles, the Kanyes, the Tylers, the Nickys, the Futures. A few others might sneak in, but rarely is A$AP Rocky brought up in these conversations. And it's crazy considering the level of influence that A$AP Rocky has. Although hard to grasp now, if we rewound the clock back to the early 2010s and you looked at what people were saying about A$AP Rocky, you'd find a lot of fans saying that his style was unique. Different to what the landscape of hip hop was, especially because it was a New York rapper with major influences from the South. This is back when rap was still somewhat territorial and you could actually differentiate where rappers were from based on their sound. Nowadays that concept is basically gone, but that was the norm in hip hop, and A$AP Rocky was defying it by having this chopped and screwed sound that you usually associate with like Houston type rappers. But A$AP Rocky wasn't from Houston, he was from Harlem. And because of that, people were interested in Rocky and what he had to say, or more accurately, the sound that he had to bring.
You and them Mr. Greatness, my Martin was a Mason, rock Margellas with no laces.
And on top of that, outside of the music side of things, Rocky had a style that no one in the landscape of hip hop had. Although nowadays it's common to see a rapper have a clothing line or partner up with high-end fashion brands, that wasn't really the norm still in 2011. There were exceptions, whether it's like a Kanye or Pharrell, but again, that was the exception, not the rule. And all I'm saying is that Rocky was part of that exception. It added to the whole character that Rocky had, and he's able to sell it on his tracks through his charisma and just his confidence. And that is what really made him a star. Combination of having this melting pot of sound and having this character that's like overly confident and cool. And his body of work backed it up. Live Love A$AP, Long Live A$AP, and At Long Last A$AP are generally considered to be great projects by most hip-hop fans. All these records brought a different side of Rocky, whether it be on the conceptual side of things or just the chart-topping side of things. Rocky was a star, and not only just some regular star, he was one of the biggest. Which makes you wonder, why has Rocky been forgotten by a lot of hip-hop fans? And although the answer isn't simple, I think I have some ideas. Firstly, I think that what made him stand out is kind of normal now. There's a lot of rappers who dress nice, and the sound of the South is basically the sound of hip-hop. I don't know, a lot of music sounded like Atlanta for a while there. But even outside of that, if you want to argue that that doesn't matter, I think there's a big misunderstanding on who Rocky is as an artist. Usually we like to put people into boxes. As much as it may suck, it's just easier for the brain. A$AP Rocky is no different. Most people, when they listen to A$AP Rocky, want to listen to a song that makes them feel confident, or the type of song that gets you hyped up, maybe just like a radio hit type of song. They want Rocky to be peso, they want him to be fucking problems, but Rocky is much more than that. At least according to himself.
My second album, I just wanted to prove to people that I could have mainstream commercial success. So that's why I made songs like Wild for the Night and F***ing Problems. I hate those f***ing songs. Making Wild for the Night with Skrillex because it was fun. We was really drunk and we were wilding. But I mean, what about on the day that you feeling sober for the night? You don't want to hear Wild for the Night, but you still gotta, perform that shit. This is what I'm trying to say. I want to make songs that reflect on me every day.
I spend my time drinking wine, feeling fine.
After the success of Long Live A$AP, Rocky felt unaccomplished with everything that he had to offer. He felt that although the record had hit songs and the record was largely viewed as a success, he could be more than that. He aimed for higher, and that's what happened with At Long Last A$AP. It was a project much more ambitious than the ones he had released before. He had Danger Mouse on as an executive producer, and the layers within this album were definitely more substantial than the ones on previous releases. He was attacking the subjects of fame, attention, addiction, some other stuff. However, despite the shades of being more than just a hitmaker for people, that is basically what Rocky was. And a good example of this is the release of Testing. Like at long last, ASAP, hitmaking was not the focus for this album. And as a result, people just didn't really care for the album. Although, to be fair, it did get overshadowed by like Pusha T and Drake beefing over ghostwriters and deadbeat dads and whatever. But also, Testing was kind of a good album. You probably know Praise the Lord, but the album is much more than that in my opinion. ASAP Forever is for me one of my favorite Rocky songs. He just pulls off these amazing flows on this song. And I personally like the beat a lot. Also, the remix with Kid Cudi, fire.
I'm free as a bird. I wanted this shit my whole life. I had all this stress on my mind.
Shout out to Kid Cudi and shout out to that outro as well. I'm just saying, it's a good song, and there's a bunch of gems in this album if you were to check it out. It's a bit long in terms of runtime, but it's good if you do give it a chance. But like I said, most people overlooked the album, and those who paid attention to it mainly gave it mixed reviews. A lot of people thinking the album missed the mark in terms of being an experimental album. Well, the commercial side of things also didn't look the best. It peaked at number 4, which is pretty good, relatively speaking, but for an artist like Rocky, who had peaked at number 1 every single time before, it was kind of disappointing. Now, I understand being outsold by Pusha T. His beef with Drake was basically everything everyone was talking about for like a week, but getting outsold by Shawn Mendes is a tough pill. It's definitely understandable, but it's a tough look, you know what I mean? Like, I understand Ed Sheeran. Shawn Mendes? Also, it's been like 5 years since Testing. A lot of things changed in 5 years. Lil Pump was relevant in 2018. I'm just saying, there's a lot of new hip hop fans, there's a lot of trends that have died off, and there's a lot of people that forgot about Rocky. Luckily though, he does have an album that's supposed to be releasing in the next 2 years. It can be the reintroduction of ASAP Rocky to a large fan base. But for now, we just gotta settle with features. But speaking of, Rocky was in the Spider-Man soundtrack, and Spider-Man was like the greatest movie I've ever seen in theaters. So yeah, and yeah, that's my party message. Shout out Miles. I forgot to do an actual outro, but shout out to Life of Pi, cool book. Shout out to Miles still, and shout out to Jay Dilla, and yeah.